I feel like perception is becoming the reality in politics, and you can say, or a politician in an election season can say whatever they want and get that message out there and keep pounding that, and then it becomes this soundbite election. It becomes this sort of soundbite campaign. And that's all you have to hear. And you hear those things constantly and you're bombarded by it. And you just sort of, it's just human nature. You take it as fact. I don't, I, I don't genuinely believe that a mass deportation of 15 million people is going to occur. I just don't think that can happen. I don't think the logistics are there right now
Not
for it
not
to
only
occur.
doesn't not only is not going to happen. I mean, I feel like you almost kind of gotta look at like that's really not the right way to solve a problem. Okay,
Yeah,
it's kind of been proven before that it's not how we should go about doing things. I understand there's a problem, and I understand there's a problem that needs to be solved. I don't know how to solve that problem, but there's so many people in this world that get paid very well to solve problems like those. And aren't they supposed to be like politicians and senators and congressmen and such that are, are making money to do that? I just don't,
yeah.
there's a way to do things and there's a way not to do things. it, those things aren't going to happen. I don't know. I feel it's the weirdest thing for me is how like we had talked about like there's candidates talking about each other's genitalia, like like there's people like Marco Rubio is actually like, do you ever see the size of his hands? Like the second he said that, you knew what he was insinuating. There's no
Right.
two ways about it. Nobody, unless they're like probably a kid, was like, why is he talking about his hands? Everybody was like, oh, dude, he's talking about he's got a small dick. That's what he's talking about. And this is like, but I'm like, this is like acceptable, which
Yeah.
is weird because it's like, I don't know, you're
Well,
you want to know about his foreign policy, but his domestic policy is talking about his opponent's genitalia. So, what does that tell us? What's he going to do with
I,
foreign policy?
I, believe me, I'm not advocating at all that sort of conjecture, that sort of discourse, because it's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not appropriate. And I know I've become so cynical on things. It's almost it's scary at times. But I feel like when you talk about all these people, and if you just want to take a broad look at the entire landscape of what things have become, whether you agree with me or not, that's fine. But you're talking about we're talking about what was originally a government of people that did it on a volunteer basis. This wasn't a career bit. People didn't get rich off of these things. And to see what it's become is is really depressing, because people want to say and can be angry at financial institutions for unethical practices. That's fine. I really get that. I'm not casting any sort of shade on the misappropriations, missteps, and that's very gently putting it. And that's not probably significantly overstating the. It's certainly not overstating what helped lead to the financial crisis and the financial downturn and economic downturn of the country over the past now 8 years, 9 years. But man, too big to fail really can apply to a lot of things right now. And man, I personally, a little less oversight, or a few things not being in place And I think people are a little bit better. But again, that's more personal opinion. I get it. And it's very jaded. But you can't just automatically evaporate anybody's income that is derived from the government.
Yeah.
You can't do it. I get it. I understand the impracticality of it. I understand that. I'm not by any way condoning it. But phasing it out, finding other work sectors, creating other jobs, that might not be a good thing. So, and I certainly think the discussion about the cost of college education and whether that is the only means to upward mobility in today's society, I think that discussion has to occur as well.
I I think the whole like I think the what people hear the idea about the free college education, and it's, hey, that's great, right? But things like that, the I don't know a ton, but I do know that things like that take like years and years and years to like establish. No, like I feel like
Well, I
it's
know
something
that,
that's got to be bought into. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
people have to buy into it. Like that's the way it works. I don't know. I don't
I mean,
really know how it works. It sounds great, but I don't know. Figure out a way
I,
to do it.
if you, and more from a historical perspective, stop me if I'm just sound insane and, and those sorts of things. But not everybody in this country who's ever been successful has gone to
Yeah, you
college
don't
or
need
has,
to.
and yeah, you don't need to. I just think really need is either, well, a really good idea and the gumption to do it is kind of what it comes down to. Or you are smarter than somebody else on something and you know how to exploit it. Or you know how, I shouldn't say exploit it. That's, that's far inflammatory language. Know how to leverage it. Know how to make it work for you. And leverage it into something greater. I mean, Bill Gates didn't finish college.
There's
What's his name?
I mean,
Zuckerberg. Yeah,
there's a ton of people who didn't finish college, and there's a ton of people who don't go to college and become successful.
yeah, and it's. I, I mean, you could go back whether it's 20 years ago, whether it's 10 years ago, whether it's 60 years ago. Not everybody that was a success ever went to college. Plenty of people have built their own livelihood and have moved upward socially, economically, just out of their own hard work and dedication into whatever they're good at. So, okay, I know that the city of Chicago has implemented different criteria in order to get a free junior college education, and that's a great thing. I get it because reward success. I have no problem with that. Reward hard work. Really, I don't have a problem with that. So if a student from any city of Chicago public school, public high school has above whatever it is, a 3.2, 3.5 grade point average, and they're getting free college, they're getting a free junior college education, more power to them. Keep working, keep getting that success. Who knows? You could end up getting a scholarship to transfer to a four-year institution or to go finish your bachelor's degree or whatever the case is. That's a great thing. That's great opportunity. But it all comes back to an individual's hard work, an individual's gumption. And that's just me. That's just the way that I see it. Whether it's if it's completely opaque and if I'm coming out of left field and I'm spewing rightist extreme policies here or propaganda, okay, fine. If personal accountability and hard work is that, okay, fine.
No, anything with education, I don't know. Like, you are responsible. Whoever you're responsible for, you're responsible for their education.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I'm responsible for teaching my kids everything, but I'm responsible for making sure that they understand and understand everything like at school and everything, and to help them. Yeah, it's not saying but I'm not like, cracking books and being like, this is how you do stuff, because I'm not a teacher, and I
Yeah.
don't want to start to teach them the wrong thing or whatever, which, sometimes can happen, especially with like math nowadays. But I don't disagree with you, but I'm very interested to see it, the whole rest of the ride until November.
I was disappointed that Bloomberg decided not to run because I really probably would have considered voting for him.
I thought it would have been interesting. Then you would, I mean, think about like that race. I mean, you have no matter however you want to. Bloomberg would have paid for his. I don't want to go and say Trump's paying for his own campaign, because God only knows what's really that guy's money and what's not.
Yeah.
But like Bloomberg's got money. You know what I mean? Like Trump doesn't have a TV network with his name in it like Bloomberg does. And it's pretty much a respected thing, you know what I mean? And whatever you feel about the guy, whatever New Yorkers feel about the guy as a mayor, it's besides the point. Like it's kind of proven, like, you don't you haven't heard Bloomberg's name on a bunch of different kinds of products for years. It's been like, you know, that's his brand.
Yeah, he did.
Like, you know what I mean? That's his brand.
Yeah,
He didn't need to have a university. He didn't need to have, an airline. He didn't need to have whatever. But I thought it would have been interesting. I always like the third party, and I know what people say about it, and I know what potential problems it causes in an election. But you're talking about somebody who's going to be the president for the next 4 years. So why don't we have, more choices, or more of a variety? But I have no problem with the third party candidate. I understand the problems they cause for both sides, really. But,
yeah.
who knows?
Well, for me, the way that I would have looked at it is, okay, you got your populist crackpots on one side voting for Trump. You got you got a solid, whatever you want to call it, a solid Democratic base, whatever their constituents on the other side, and then you have somebody who I think could really clean up the middle. That was my theory.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of thought. I mean, he didn't have to have a reality. He hasn't had a reality TV show over the past decade.
Yeah.
He's been his reality TV show was running the city of New York.
Yeah.
And New York seems okay. So would have been fine by me. Whether he would have taken the entire state of New York, left to be seen. Yeah, and whether he could cherry pick those, those electoral states, well, I okay. Who knows?
You don't know about a candidate like that too, because like how does a candidate like that do in Montana? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or Trump does well in places like Montana. But it's totally wow, exciting run, but kind of frightening. Next couple, how many months is that?
It's another. Oh gosh.
What are we in? We're in the 3rd
months.
month, and that's in the 11th, so 8 months away. It's a long time. A lot of stuff can happen.
Yeah. And I feel like just in the way that the news cycle goes these days is, who knows? You're right. Who knows what's going to happen?
New stuff every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Instantly.
Multiple times each day.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on.
All right, you got anything else?
No, I don't believe so. I don't. No, not at all. Have a good week.
Thank you. You do the same. Hope I didn't do too much. Didn't spew too much crazy.
Oh no, not at all. They're all good opinions on